All right, so a little back history for this video. I'm going to use the x748 and I'm going to fix a spot in the yard. Last fall, I want to say it was probably early November. We had our septic pit replaced. Now, the way our septic system works is there's actually a septic tank behind the house, which the house drains into that tank, and then the black water comes out of the tank, and then it comes out into the yard, and it comes to this pit. This pit then pumps up this pit, and it comes out into the drain field. Once the pit gets full, and the drain field's right out in this area right here. What we were having trouble with, the pit was originally, the house was built in '64. The pit was from 1964, and it leaked. And it was leaking a lot of water. Plus, it was approximately 1.5 feet lower in the ground. And with that 1.5 feet lower in the ground, anytime it rained and there was groundwater, it would just pour into the pit. Plus, on top of that, if the power went off in the house, there was no way to empty the pit. And that's one of the reasons that we installed the backup generator that you see over there. I've talked a little bit about it before. And also, by replacing the pit, we were able to put a check valve on the pit from the house. So if the pit does fill up, so in other words, in the springtime, like spring we had this year, where the ground just gets saturated and the drain field actually backflows into the pit, then what will happen is the check valve will stop the water from backing up into the house. Now, theoretically, it should only back up into the septic tank. However, there are 2 floor drains in the basement. Those 2 floor drains are connected directly to the line from the pit to the septic tank, hence our problem. We can't really stop those lines up because they're what drain if the way the system is set up. If the sump pump overflows, like happened in 2016, December of 2016, that's what kind of started all this in motion. If the sump pump overflows, it is designed to overflow into one of those floor drains. And then the floor drain drains it out into the tank here, and then the tank picks it up and puts it in the drain field. So basically, this is just another step in making sure that water cannot get in the basement of our house. Now, what happened is last year, in fact, the top 6 inches of the ground was already frozen when they put this in. And so it's I want to say almost 16 feet in the ground, and we're still doing some work on it. I've got to put an alarm on it, a high water alarm, and I got to do a couple other things. We're running some different power out here to it. Got to put some things like that in. I don't know if I'll do any of those on video. But what I'm trying to do is, obviously, because it was frozen, you can even see as I walk around here. If you look, and I don't know if you can see it, and I've already done some of this work. I've been working on this off and on all spring. The ground's basically sunk down. Now, they did haul in 1 truckload of dirt. They wanted, basically after discussions with them, and you can see how much farther it's sunk down right here. I mean, there's a good, 12 inches in some places. And I mean, you can see there's just divots everywhere. So basically what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to fill this in and grade it out to where it'll look presentable. The reason that we're waiting so long, it's now June 12th. The reason I'm doing this on June 12th is this is the first time the yard has been dry enough for me to drive in it with any type of tractor. There was one 12-hour period where I got when I got the 4066 out here, and I dumped some of these piles of dirt from the dirt pile in the backyard, and I just swallowed a bug. So I've gotten a tractor out here once, but it was getting dark, and then it rained that night, and then the yard got wet again. So this is the first time that I've been able to get a tractor in the yard with any type of weight on it. The reason I'm using the x748 is because it's smaller, and it's a little bit more maneuverable, because there are things like this electrical line right here that I have to pay attention to. If you can see it in the grass, that all is coming up. In fact, we're going to shorten it up, and we're going to put a couple different things in there. So that is actually something that it will not be, it's not permanent right there, but I need to go ahead and get this leveled out. There's a drain in there right now, a secondary pump and a drain because of the wet spring. things like that. So I'm using the x748 just because it's a little bit more maneuverable around this type of environment, and I can have a little bit finer control rather than sitting in a cab of the 4066. I did attempt to do this with the 4066, but the 4066 weighs, you know, almost 6,000 pounds with the ballast and everything. And when you come over this lip and you get out in here, the tires sink. And so that creates some problems in terms of making sure you get everything graded and whatnot. And because it's such a small area, I just figured the x748 would be a good choice. So I want to set the camera up, and things I would encourage you if you're thinking about a 45 loader on an older X series, I think they're very functional. Some folks don't like them because it's not joystick control. It does require a lot more hand movements, and if you want, I don't know exactly how much you'll see of my right hand, but since I have a mechanical four-wheel drive machine, I want you to see how many times I switch in and out of four-wheel drive as I'm doing this. It'd probably a number of times. I don't want to tear up any more grass than absolutely necessary, because I do have to seed all of this and hope the grass will grow this summer before fall gets here. So I'm gonna set the camera up and y'all can watch. Hopefully that's a decent view. All right, so I went and got 2 more bucketfuls of dirt. They're over on the far side of the hole. And I filled in around the pit itself, the green section. So now I'm gonna work on, I mean, it's not gonna be perfect today by any means. I'm probably gonna let it sit another couple weeks just to settle, and I probably won't plant grass around it until early July. Plus that gives me time to get my overflow alarm, things like that set. So keep on keeping on. All right, well, I'm a little bit happier with it. Like I said, this isn't going to get done in one day. I've actually got, I got a lot of work to do still. But this is at least filled in the potholes because, they did the best they could with the frozen ground. But the problem is that when the ground was frozen, so literally the grass just came up in chunks. So everything on the top, even though you couldn't see it over the grass, was just chunks of dirt. And so, I think it looks a little bit better. I'm fading light. You can see the sun's right there, so I've only got about 20 minutes of light left. So I'll bring in 2 more loads, 2 more bucketfuls from the 4066 right in here and get this leveled out. I don't know if I'm happy with the slope on it yet. I'm thinking that I might need to get some more dirt and make the slope a little bit finer. I would really like to I'd really like to make this not appear like a mound in the yard, just kind of like a little hill. But we'll see. I don't know. I'll have to do some elevations and see how much dirt that's going to require. So far, this is basically 2 truckloads of dirt because they raised the pit up about 1.5 feet from where it was. And so, yeah, it's a lot of dirt that we have to add. But I like the fact that we lifted it up because now the drain field, the line going to the drain field, is a little bit more protected from frost than it was previously. I know the previous owners of the home, they did have some problems with the main drain field line freezing up in February just because it had been so cold. It did not happen this year, even with the really cold weather, so that made me feel a little bit better. Going back to my check valve story real quick, this spring probably saved us about 5 inches of water in the basement, just doing some calculations, because the check valve was installed on this pit. So this pit, I believe it, I can't remember the exact install cost, but it was like $6,000 to install this stupid thing. And fortunately, we saved ourselves all that money just by one spring. So very, very glad. It was so wet here last year that we contracted with the company back last July, and they got it put in November. So that's just because the ground was too wet to work in. So I'm gonna get some more dirt laid up in here, get it leveled out a little bit more. If I have some light, I'll keep doing videos. If I don't have light, I won't put any more videos out. So, or I won't do any more videos tonight. So if not, thanks for watching. We're gonna see if I can do this one-handed. Got the 4066 unit, ridden in the 4066 in a couple months now. Actually, I haven't put many hours on it. I think when I quit moving snow, I had like 183 hours on it, and it's got like 188 now. We can look. Vehicle hours, PTO, soot. 188.9 hours, engine hours. So that's, haven't put very many hours on it this spring. Mostly because it's either been too wet to drive the tractor on the driveway, because it would make a muddy mess, or I just haven't needed it. So we're gonna get some dirt here. I thought I'd be done with this video, but I figured you could go for a ride along. I'm gonna try to collect dirt with holding the camera. This should be interesting. What I do is I try to level it off a little bit when I'm carrying this black dirt over the driveway, because the last thing I want to do is have it fall out on the rock on the driveway and get organic matter on the driveway. Nobody needs that pain. So I could get heaping scoops, but no reason to do that. Not wanting that, because I've already spilled a little bit today. I didn't know I had a big clump sitting in the front. But no, 4066 is doing well. I still haven't cleaned it up. Weather I hadn't had a right day to get it all sprayed off from winter, so it's actually pretty daggum dirty. You can see the windshield and everything. Kind of disappointed in myself for letting it get that dirty. Well, I'll tell you how much I've used it. I've used a 1/4 tank of fuel since I took the snowblower off. It's just been a busy spring. now early summer. That's where I spilt it earlier. Went over the concrete of the driveway. I have used it to grade the driveway a couple times. Still needs quite a bit more grading. I've basically just kind of used it to get rid of the potholes. But it's still probably a little bit dry or a little bit wet to run this machine out over in the yard, because I do create ruts that are just an absolute pain to deal with. But this is the only way to efficiently move dirt out here. Probably need to get one more scoop. I won't take you along for that ride. This video is probably long enough already. So thanks for watching. I'll get the sun's fixing to set, so I'll get that done probably as the sun sets, and you won't be able to see much because of the sun, so, or the dark. So thanks for watching.